Hello and welcome to another stream. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander, and this is Who's That Creator, a monthly series where I get to showcase really awesome content creators in the Magic the Gathering community so that you don't miss awesome content, and you get to learn a little bit about the creators behind the content. Today, I am joined by the very cool, very talented Drew, or ShownTell2U. So first off, thank you very much for giving me your time today and hanging out and doing answering some questions. And the first one, as always, the low-hanging fruit that everyone gets to hear. Please tell everyone who you are, where they can find you, and what it is you do. And I will dump your link into the chat here.
Well, thank you for having me on. Very excited to talk about myself. Not really, but I am excited to hang out with you. Talking about myself is always a little embarrassing. But yeah, my name's Drew. You can find me everywhere at Show and Tell, the number 2, the letter U. It's like a casting cost, Show and Tell the card. Probably the biggest mistake I made coming into the Magic space was picking a very convoluted tag signature name line thing. So I always had to say the number 2, the letter U, and then I go, it's like a casting cost because I thought that was clever at the time, and it's more it's more trouble than it's worth, I think, sometimes. But yeah, I guess I'm a photographer. I guess that's usually what I just like to tell myself. I do a lot of magic-based photography projects. I like to do all sorts of weird stuff involving magic. I do magic haikus on TikTok. I have a small show called Show and Tell, where I do something similar. I sit down with different creators and contributors to the magic community and talk about kind of magic and their start. I have a newer show called Show and Tell Signature, where I sit down with some of my friends and different creators who talk about some of their favorite signature magic decks. That's been pretty fun. Yeah, I just, I've discovered I've used magic as a forum for my artistic endeavors. I did a magic holiday song in December. I think it was one of the more unique things. I produced it. I did not sing it. I'm not a singer. I did write out the chord progression, but I'm not a pianist, so I didn't play piano, but there was, I guess you can say I wrote and produced it,
Right.
which was pretty fun. But yeah, so that's, kind of what I do and what interests me and how I kind of met a bunch of cool people in playing this funny little game.
Awesome. So that actually, you kind of touched on it already, but like the next question is always like, is there a story behind the name logo? So like you did explain it a little bit. And now I never once thought about the 2U as being two and, what is it you? Woober.
Blue. So it's
Blue.
two,
Okay.
so 2 and a blue.
Yeah.
So the card show and tell, it costs 2 and a blue. And when I decided to like enter into the magic space, I did something kind of, well, in retrospect, I think was dumb. Was instead I used to use the name Locke all over the place, like John Locke or Locke from Final Fantasy VI.
Hmm.
I always thought that was a cool name, but I decided to use this magic card as a more of a homage to when I started playing Magic back in the Urza block.
Mhm.
And I was like, what's that kind of a cool, iconic Magic card that kind of is in theme with what I want to do in the Magic space? And I was like, oh, Show and Tell, like kind of like a very obvious, idea for talking to people about their history with the game. And then, Show and Tell, on top of, the problem with Show and Tell is it's a very generic phrase.
Mhm.
Show and Tell is not very Magic specific. So when you're trying to like make like, at the time, Twitter names or Instagram names, like, well, you're not going to get Show and Tell. So I was like, oh, well, 2 and U is like the casting cost, which I thought was kind of clever.
Yeah.
And now, like, the Scarlet Letter, it's branded on me where people go, oh yeah, do I call you Drew? Do I call you Show and Tell? Like, do you call you Show and Tell? And I've always gone back and forth. Like, you can just call me Drew, I guess. That's probably the
Right.
easiest way to go. Show and Tell it's a mouthful.
Mhm.
So it's and just the vibe. I think at the time I was really into like cyberpunk, synthwave, outrunny kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So still think it's a cool aesthetic, and that's why all my stuff is very pinks and purples and outrun sunsets and sunrises.
Yeah.
And I think it's just kind of something that's kind of stuck with the brand, as it were. And yeah, that's kind of where the name comes from, is just makes me think about playing Magic on the junior high sidewalk in 1998,
Oh,
back
wow.
when I was when I was a wee lad. That's a long
Right.
time ago.
So like I gotta admit, like I think I told you before, is like I didn't realize any of that. So like, because I'm just not like, I'm not the encyclopedic Rolodex of Magic cards. So I didn't even realize Show and Tell was a Magic card, and like it didn't even click that 2U is the casting cost, which I think. So when you say it, it is all very clever. Like it's like, oh, that is really cool. Like I get it, it's the card, but like yeah, I was always like Show and Tell to you, like you're showing and telling something to the person. I'm like that's cool too. Like so I like it, and I do love the logo visuals, like that sunset and the color scheme. I also enjoy that like color palette basically. So it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I've always thought it was cool. So the first question I really want to get into, and it's super recent, of course, but it was really really cool, and I want to kind of focus on that. Is when you went to Shoebox, which was recent, you did basically tell us about Dear Magic because that was like a really cool concept and an execution. So
Well, thank you. I'm glad you. Glad you thought it was cool. It's an idea that I've had, excuse me, bopping around in my head for a while. Um, so I've been a professional photographer now for. Well, I've been doing photography, gosh, probably for over 25 years. I guess you can say I've been a professional for, we'll say 15. And I really define professional as I've been paid to do photos. You know, I don't. There's levels, but like
sure,
I was a wedding photographer for a while, so I guess that technically makes me a professional.
yeah, no, it does,
Um,
sure.
and part of what always interests me when it comes to magic is the and this is kind of what a lot of people say, like the importance of like the gathering and the community and how we can kind of go to these events and you see people once a year and we kind of get together. So I have been recently rediscovered shooting film again.
Hmm.
And I had this idea of shooting a set of portraits on film and combining it with just handwritten letters about the importance of magic or what magic means to you, a particular person. So Shoebox, for those who don't know, was a event held in Minnesota in beginning of March,
Hmm.
middle of March,
Yeah.
and it was all community run. So everyone who kind of ran it are people from our community. It wasn't sponsored by Wizards anyway, but you had Hayu and Magic Mishamigo and Peachy Pop and Cobert. The cup so a lot of just Magic people like running this event,
Hmm.
and it was super fun. The vibes were right where you would want them to be for like a community run event. A lot of fun games. I got to meet the creator of Dan, which was super cool. And actually, so his name's Nick Floyd. And if you've seen the video on Dan from Ristic Studies, he was kind of lost to the waves of history and magic, or people didn't really realize he had kind of initially created this game until, Sam from Ristic Studies kind of did a video on it. And that idea kind of, inspired this thing about, like documenting people in the community and kind of like the relationship with magic. So I had just thought of like, well, I'll do portraits of different people, friends, creators I know, and just kind of ask them to write a little thing about, what magic means to them. And I was more than blown away by some of the responses and some of just the heartfelt
Hmm.
letters that a lot of these people wrote. And it was just something that I think really emphasizes the importance of not only the community, but like the game itself, like what the game means to us and like why we kind of keep coming back to it and why we stick around and why, we, how many other games have you played, for 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 years?
Right.
Most people I don't think have a game like that, but Magic for a lot of us has been a fairly big constant in our lives. So I was thrilled at the reception of the project. I don't expect my things to do very well, but as long as I'm happy with the result, that's usually enough for me. But a lot of good feedback on that one, so I think I'll probably do. We have MagicCon Vegas coming up in a few weeks here, so hoping to maybe do a second set there with some different creators and people who are kind of bouncing around. But yeah, it was a great project. Very happy with the photos, which is always great. But just again, just some of the things people wrote was just very felt good, kind of being a part of that, in the small way that I could.
Yeah, and if you haven't, if you're not sure exactly what we're talking about, definitely go, look at Drew's profiles on like Blue Sky or whatever, and find the threads because the shots are beautiful. They're really well, the I don't want to say centered, but they're really well laid out. Like the balance is really good. It's like the way, the filtering and stuff. It looks really professional. It looks classy. And then it's next to that person's, dear magic. This is, hey, dear magic. This is what I love about you and what I feel and stuff like that. And some of them are a little, a couple of lines. Some of them are like a decent paragraph or whatever, and they're all really cool to read and see. And seriously, it is, you should be proud because it's a really, really cool and unique concept. And in this space, it's hard to be unique and different because it's so many creators out there. It's so oversaturated with people doing everything that, like right here, like you do interview stuff, I'm doing an interview thing, what I mean? It's like the, and
Yep.
mental misplay, he does his interviews things. So there's all that, and then there's all the gameplay videos and stuff like that. So to have that unique thing out there is definitely something to be proud of, and the execution was very well done. So I look forward to seeing more of them in the future.
Yeah, I did make the bold choice of typing out the letters, which as I was doing it, I was like, some of them was like, hopefully I can read these. I have my penmanship is atrocious, so I should have known. But I was like going through, like I'm like trying to read, like, oh man, hopefully I'm translating these correctly. But I think I
Right.
did okay.
So you kind of you mentioned the timeline of like 25 years and stuff, but what got you into photography and has kept you in it as a you know hobby, profession, like you just mixture of the two.
Yeah. So my mom always my mom was a photographer when she was younger. So her and my grandfather, her father, always had a camera. We were taking photos, and it wasn't really until high school that I really got into it. It was the summer before my junior year, and me and my two friends were taking a class to kind of get ahead of our elective credit.
Hmm.
And it was just one of those classes because it was summer, so it was a little different. We all had just turned 16, so we all just got our driver's license. So it's still like we couldn't drive each other because there was like a 6-month rule, but
Right.
like we had our own car, so we were driving to going to high school. It was during the summer in the morning, and it was like since it was a summer class, it was like 4 hours long. Uh, and it was relatively small, so we got to be pretty close with the teacher, Dr. Bishop, who was just one of those teachers you meet and you never forget. He was just an interesting guy, super smart. Like he had a master's or doctorate in chemistry, and he went to go work for some company, and like he quit on his first day because they were doing like weapons or something. He's like, I can't be a part of this. This is not
Mm.
what I want to do. And then he I think at one point his claim to fame that he jokes about was he was like the fourth best equestrian photographer in the world, like for horse photography.
Yeah.
And he literally worked for an eccentric Texas oil baron. Like he jokes about, he tells this story how he took a photo, just ran, like he was driving home one day and he saw some horses in a field, and he just like pulled over and just grabbed whatever camera he had and he took this photo. And apparently it was like, that's the thing about photography, you never know what photos is really gonna hit.
Hmm.
And he developed the role, and he kind of showed the guy, and the guy was just like loved it. This is the best photo, and he ended up like blowing it up to like wall size and this and that. It was just but there was just taking that class really kind of awoken, I guess, my interest in photography. I had never really been into any sort of like art stuff.
Hmm.
I would draw a little bit, but just being in the dark room, going through the process of taking the photo, processing the film, developing, making prints, and then from then on, I pretty much was always in a photo section throughout high school. I think my senior year, I was in a photo class, and I was
Hmm.
also a TA. I think I took photo, and then I was a TA the next period. So I was always doing double duty. So by the end, I might have even held the record for highest level photographer he ever had, because like it was like big. If you took it one quarter, you were beginner, and then the next quarter intermediate, and then you were advanced. Then after that, it was advanced 2, advanced 3. I think by the time I had finished, I was like advanced 5. I don't know if
Nice.
anyone ever gotten that far. And then I went to college. I went to UC Irvine, and they had a newspaper staff, and I wanted to kind of keep doing photo stuff, and I was like trying to figure out what to do. So I joined the newspaper staff for my freshman year,
Hmm.
and I learned a lot about like journalism, like photojournalism, which was really cool. And then I took a break, and then I came back. I think my third or fourth year, and I came back my third year, and then I did it for 2 more years there. Oh, I did. I shot for 2 years, and then my last year I stayed a fifth year. I was a super senior,
Hmm.
mostly because I didn't know what to do after college. So I was like, I could probably stick around 1 year.
Right.
And I was actually the photo editor for the paper, which was kind of a cool
Nice.
kind of
Yeah.
thing that to have on your resume, right? College photo editor for a paper. And yeah, it's just as someone who has an interest in like people, I really like portrait photography a lot. I like taking pictures of people. I find the combine that with the photojournalistic aspects of just the kind of behind the scenes sort of look. It's just something that really kind of speaks to me in a way of capturing a moment that you know the decisive moment really is way to, I guess one way to put it. Henry Cartier-Bresson was a French photographer, and he kind of popularized street photography. But I think there's decisive moments in all sorts of photography, and that moment is just capturing a point in time that you know you may not realize is there.
Hmm.
So it's just it's just been one of those things where I've kind of taken it with me, and as being a nerdy guy, magic has found an avenue for me to pursue photography in ways that kind of focus, I guess, my erratic artistic energy.
Hmm.
Um, Before I found magic, I was always doing all sorts of photo stuff all over the place, and I think really coming into the magic space, I found initially was like cosplay photography.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of very good cosplayers in our space. So
Absolutely.
being
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
work with being able to work with people like Zbex or Mythic Michaela, or I got to shoot at Shoebox with Misty Step and Creative Kitty Studios. So just all sorts of people I've got a chance to work with has been really cool. And as you kind of meet people, you get ideas and just I throw out random. Oh, Jane Plays Magic is someone I should say. I work
Mhm.
with her a lot. She does a lot of awesome cosplay, so I
Yeah.
definitely want to mention her.
Definitely.
But yeah, so like you do that, and then like as I dink around with different photo things, I just get ideas for stuff, and usually people are down to help out. So that's been really fun for me. So it's been nice.
Cool. So one more like focusing on the photography first because I'm not even gonna say like I dabble. I just occasionally, but I like I like taking pictures, and I like taking pictures of unique things or bizarre angles, and like low. It's just because it's like I love to see the lines and the way things will line up and whatever. So when you and by doing it for so long, when you go to take a photo, do you try like are you subconsciously trying to do the masterpiece shot every time, or are you far more like just not rapid fire but like just take the picture, it is what it is, let's move on, or like how do you go about the process of like a shot?
Well, I think like a lot of I always hate to call myself an artist because it feels so
I understand what you mean, yeah.
yeah. Uh, but I hate everything I take until I look at it after the fact, or
Right.
even sometimes as I'm working on stuff like this is all crap, this all sucks. But I think a lot of times, especially with photography, as if you've done it a lot, it becomes almost like a muscle memory thing. So um, I try to be very intentional with my shots.
Hmm.
So I'm not, there's a time and place for, motor driving, taking, 10, 20, 30 frames per second, on certain types of photography. But I do tend to do a lot more, kind of portrait work. So it's a little more controlled, a little more um, slower pace.
Hmm.
So, and it's almost like playing an instrument where I have in my head, I've taken enough photos, and I study a lot of um, content or art or movies. Like I'm always a lot of my products tend to come from like, oh, like Dune had really good cinematography. Like, can I
Hmm.
replicate Dune's type photo,
Yeah.
in my photography, or Christopher Nolan type stuff, or even say what you will about like the Star Wars sequels,
Hmm.
but The Last Jedi, for depending what you think of that movie, I have my own thoughts, but the cinematography in that movie is just amazing. Like just
Mm.
like the composition and the way stuff are framed. So I think when I'm doing stuff, I'm always thinking about other works I've seen and how I kind of want to get that same sort of feeling or invoke a feeling when I'm taking a photo. So the best thing up and coming photographer, or, what's the best way to get better at photography is take photos. Take
Sure.
just as many photos as you can. And I think as you take more photos, you kind of get a feeling for like what a good photo is and what a maybe not so good photo is, and
Hmm.
what composition kind of works. And that's just, it's all vibes based, right? But a lot of it just comes from as you do more photography and you kind of look at stuff, you kind of get an idea of what you're kind of looking for, and how you're trying to, achieve that goal or that look in your own kind of way.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so shifting gears a bit, what inspired you to do your like interview content and to do your signature series?
Yeah. So initially the interview show, so just show and tell, was I'm trying to think the best way to tell the story. I'll have to tell you off camera why, but I had a buddy who was a pretty big YouTuber. He did like some video game stuff,
Hmm.
and I used to know him from the past. And anytime he was on a show, and they were kind of talking about, the inside baseball stuff, like, oh, like what challenges that you have to face to kind of get to the point where you are, or kind of the stuff about like what did you do to kind of grow your channel or this or that. I was always just so interested in hearing like, oh, like I'd have to try these different thumbnails, or I was, I'd work, it'd be like 80-hour day or 80-hour weeks, like trying to edit this and that. I was just so intrigued about like the stuff behind the scenes and like the motivation to kind of keep going. So for me, I think especially as we kind of entered lockdown, and as just, content creation has kind of grown in general, I always just kind of wondered like what motivates someone to be like a full-time streamer,
Hmm.
right? Like someone who um, gets up and streams 4 to 6 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week,
Hmm.
you know, um, and just like what they've learned as they've done that, or what, what trials and tribulations they faced. Because I think sometimes people underestimate like how hard it is to be like a consistent streamer or just content creator in general.
Hmm.
A lot of people think a lot of it's just you just hit go live on Twitch and you go to town, and that's it.
Right.
Um, and there's a lot of pre and post work that goes into it. Even just like we were talking about, doing this right here is like, yeah, you record something a month ahead, and you switched over to a month later, you put it on YouTube, and like
Hmm.
this and that, and just all that kind of stuff. Or even with the cosplayers, like, you see some of these cosplays, these super elaborate cosplays, and just the material involved, the techniques used for making different types of like, foam, eva
Hmm.
foam, or like metal, or this or that. So all that kind of little nuanced stuff that um, you may not get at, let's say, like a MagicCon, seeing someone walk by and be like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like, how did they make that?
Hmm.
And being able to kind of give some of these people the opportunity to talk about their work, and um, the time and hard work they've put into it, I've always found intriguing.
Hmm.
So, and then the second so signature was, again, I guess, stems from the same roots, in the sense that I think it's very cool that a lot of uh, people sometimes get associated with particular decks.
Hmm.
So my friend, probably know Veguagon,
Hmm.
he's kind of known. Really, I think it stemmed from his Tempting Worm deck. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I think a lot of people are.
Hmm.
And it's interesting when certain people get associated with a certain deck. And I'm like, oh yeah, like, it's like their signature deck. This is like,
Yeah.
think of this person thing. And I was like, oh, there's kind of a lot of that out there. So um, in an effort to make a more magic-y magic show,
Right.
to really kind of talk about the cards a little more, I was like, oh, this might be a fun kind of experiment to like have people come on and talk about their decks and card choices, and just like what makes it kind of fun, and to kind of get that deck, a broader view of, more eyes on it for other people to kind of try out. So those were kind of my biggest inspirations for those kind of shows, and just really letting people kind of I guess explore themselves for the world to kind of see how they thought, how they approached the game, or whatever their content creation or and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
But like the more when you started talking about it too, it's like, what would the world look like right now if we didn't have COVID? Because that was like the uh, creation of the boom of content creators, period. Not just Magic, but like everyone had nothing else to do, so they just went live, did a
Yeah.
YouTube, did a podcast, did a whatever. And like now we just have so many people out there doing these things. And everybody, like everyone I talk to, it almost always starts in 2020 or 22, between 2020 and 2022. And I'm like, I think it's hilarious.
Yep.
All right, so what do you feel makes your content stand out in this sea of creators? And even regardless of what category we put it in, whether it's Magic in general, whether it's interview, whether it's photography, Magic photography, like, what do you think separates you from the bulk?
It's a good question. I have just always tried to engage in the Magic content space in a way that is wholly unique. Obviously, I have like my interview show. There are a lot of interview shows. My signature show is basically a deck tech show. There's a lot of deck tech shows, and I do those are fun. But I also do try to engage in a lot of unique, just like again the photo projects. I think are really kind of what sets me apart.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
like to, I don't. Maybe this is bragging or not, or maybe this is not being.
Hey, this is the format for it. Go absolutely. I mean,
This is
that's what the
yeah.
question is. I'm like, what do you brag? What stands apart?
I think if I was to put up my, I guess, portfolio of Magic products I've done, it might be one of the more might be one of the most unique set of Magic based things that may be out there. Between the Dear Magic project, I did a photo series where I had a set of creators and cosplayers reenact classical works of art in a con in different outfits. So I had for example, Vajuwagon in his Ragavan outfit doing the Thinker. I
Okay.
had
Yeah.
Zebex in her Jester cap outfit. Reenacting a pose of I'm gonna kill myself because I can't remember the artist who did all the ballerina. Degas. It was a Degas. It was a Degas kind
Mhm.
of inspired photo. I had Anna Margaret. I had a fake Mox Pearl card made into an earring from Firex and Hannah, shout out, who
Mhm.
does awesome magic card earrings.
Yep.
But she made me an earring with a Mox Pearl, and I had Anna do it, and we redid instead of girl with a pearl earring, it was a girl with a Mox Pearl earring kind
Nice.
of
Okay.
thing. So stuff like that. One of my, I think, most ambitious projects I did in conjunction with My Hands Are Blank, Dave, where it was called the Unending Journey, where we basically got together 16 Magic community artists. Each one took a mainline Final Fantasy game, and they each submitted a piece of art of Magic characters or adjacent works relative to their game. We kind of put it together as kind of big project, and then I had a collection of Final Fantasy cosplay photos from I had shot together, and just a really big swing on that one that I think came out really cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Some great pieces of art, and just being able to, again, for me, a lot of times is being able to just kind of feature artists or different people in the community who maybe aren't as well known or as big, or just maybe they don't spend the time promoting their stuff as much as I think they should because their work is so great. But
Hmm.
uh, that's been I think what I really like to do is take big swings with projects and stuff that you've never seen, people haven't seen before.
Hmm.
So I think that speaks to what I'm looking to do here. And yeah, like I said, I think that collection of stuff I've done is probably one of the more unique ones out there.
For sure. Definitely.
And again, yeah, and again, there's nothing wrong with if you want to do deck techs or this or
Oh
that.
yeah.
I don't do deck tech. I don't really do in-depth deck tech stuff because I don't think I'm very good at the game. So I usually my guests, relying on them to talk about their cards because I'm like, yeah, that's Path to Exile is a good card.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a great card. So
Exactly. No.
um,
Yeah, I get you're right. I mean, we're not. I'm not trying to bash the mainstream because I mean I fall into that. I'm not sure. I'm not breaking ground with any of the stuff I'm doing. I try my best, but it's also it's nice to like self reflect and be like, well, what like no one thinks they're you know the vanilla. No one thinks they're the carbon copy. So like, well,
yeah.
what is it that makes you that drives you to do it and stuff? This might be tricky. I get the feeling this might, maybe you'll just like immediately know, but what is a piece of content you are most proud of and why?
Oh gosh. Well, last month I would have said that Final Fantasy project.
Hmm.
I think just because when I initially pitched it to Dave, my hands are blank. I know he was super excited. He's a big Final Fantasy. I believe he was an ambassador for that set as well.
Okay.
Uh, I know he was super into it, but I was just like, if we could get 5 or 6 artists, in my head, I was like, I'd count that as a win.
Right.
We'll probably get the big, Final Fantasy 6, Final Fantasy 7,
Sure.
probably Final Fantasy 9 and 10. Maybe someone will do 14 because it's kind of the newest, the MMO one.
Hmm.
And then if we got someone, but being able to get an artist for and shout out to Graham Kozel. He was very influential in getting this project done as well. But being able to put together 16 artists to create pieces for for free. I made it very clear. I was like, listen, I'm going to pitch you this idea. I don't have a budget.
Hmm.
You can tell me to kick rocks. I will totally understand. It
Yeah.
was a passion project. I had an idea because sometimes people are interested in not, and I'm not going to hold it against them. Just don't get mad at me for even. I felt bad in a lot of instances
Right.
even asking, but
Sure. I
um,
get that for sure.
yeah, and for the fact they dedicated and donated their time for something for again someone who's relative
Hmm.
small fish in a big pond type of thing was as I was seeing it to come together was just phenomenal and the art all the art was that's one of those things I wish more people had seen, in the media world, the magic at large, just because everyone's art was so good. Like there
Hmm.
were so many amazing pieces, and like for all the artists involved, like man, I wish everyone could see all this amazing work here. So, um, that's up there. But it's hard to deny the Dear Magic project and just the response that it has gotten, and just the sincerity of some of the notes and everything. So, um, it's tough, and maybe that's my the thing too. Every project's my most recent one's always my favorite one until I do something different or bigger.
Right.
The classical art project I was in love with the way it came out up until I did the Final Fantasy one. So
That's
I
fair.
think I think as long as I'm continuing to do new stuff that pushes my creativity and my boundaries, and I'm
Hmm.
happy with those results. Um, they'll be up there. But I'm always gonna have a soft spot for the Final Fantasy one. I think Dear Magic, the first one, this will always have a pretty big spot in my my heart of things I've done. So
Well, those are two incredible projects. So, I mean, it makes sense that those would be top tier for you specifically, but for anyone that sees them. What do you feel is like your hell yeah moment within being a creator? That where you just feel that it was like you either got recognized by someone big or like by Wizards or whatever, right? Something happened, or it was just a moment where you're like, yes, I'm part of this community. Like, I'm recognized, and like I feel like this is fantastic.
uh so one day Wizards might realize I exist in this space. That would be kind of nice, but
Right.
it's not this day. Um
This is not that day.
when when they put out a Avatar card with a Sora Sokus, I don't watch Avatar, the haiku card
Yeah.
as someone who's written over like 300 haikus on Magic cards, and I was like, oh, they don't even realize they don't even know I'm not even a blip on there, but no, that's fine. Um,
No, that was an homage to
so
you. Don't you realize?
yeah. I was like, give the haiku card to the haiku guy. What are
Yeah.
we doing here?
Come on.
Gosh, what is my biz? Okay, so it's really silly. It's not even so much me. It's just because she's so awesome. But I met Talia Vess at uh, Command Vest Vegas in like 2022. Whenever it was like the first Magic event, like that we got to go to kind of during COVID, during
Mhm.
lockdown. So there was a lot of people just really excited to meet people, and it was the first time I got to meet a bunch of people. And she was there with at the time was She Sparks. It was her, Zbex, Air Bubbles cosplay, and Zabricus.
Oh
And I
wow.
did photos and stuff. So it was very nice to meet her there. And then at the it might have been the next Magic Con, she was in the Elspeth Resplendent cosplay.
Hmm.
I did some photos, and she had asked for a print, or she asked for the photo, and she's very nice. She offered to pay for it. I was like, listen, I don't really charge a lot of times for my images. But I have this small show. If you would come on, maybe we could have like we'd barter. And she was like super cool and she came on. But the moment was at my work. One of my associates, he started playing. His cousins had got him into Magic.
Okay.
And he's like, "Yeah, Drew, like I know you play," and like my cousins had started playing, and I was like, "Yeah," and I kind of told him everything I did in my show, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll have my cousins check out your show because like they play a lot more than I do," and they he comes back the next day and they were like, "My cousins were super impressed with like your show. They're like looking at it and they go, 'Yo, he had Talia vests on.'" So I was like, I made me laugh because they were just, again, Talia's amazing, but it was just funny, like her name kind of carries weight, and I was like, yeah,
Right.
we go way back.
Yeah.
But that was just one of those moments where I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. So name drop Talia
Yeah,
Vest.
that counts.
But it just made me laugh. So maybe feel like I was doing something right.
So this one, it depends on how you want, like which one of your facets that you want to focus on. If you want to, like, this can go to any of them. It's actually, I was gonna say it might be difficult with the photography, but actually probably isn't. What part of your personality do you feel truly shines through in your content?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I like to think I'm fairly introspective.
Mhm.
I like to think about the big picture and the kind of the meaningfulness in the day to day, or the way we kind of just approach the stuff we do or our hobbies.
Mhm.
So a lot of the things I do, I think, try to capture those feelings of happiness and gathering community, sometimes a touch of forlornment, a touch of sadness kind of go a little bit a long way. A MagicCon is really fun. The drive home from a MagicCon is a little sad. I
Very true.
like, for me, yeah, or the flight home or the ride home. um so I'm always interested in people, and I think that's, again, why I've really been pursued like portrait photography, kind of the journalistic approach.
Mhm.
So I always try to use my photography to kind of capture the essence of, um, the people in my photos, or the events that I attend. Um, I think that has been my goal, and again, I think magic has been a outlet to pursue and express those ideas in a way that I hadn't really been able to before. So, I found myself very grateful for creating, even it's just, it's weird because I feel silly. I feel silly, and I shouldn't, but like, I just turned 40, and sometimes you try to explain to someone like, oh, we are gonna fly out of the state to go to a like a game
Right.
convention, and
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, yeah, but I'm always, you kind of hit a point. Yeah, it's fun. It keeps me engaged. There's so many interesting people that I get the opportunity to talk to and take photos of, and kind of preserve those memories through this game, that
Mhm.
I feel really honored to be able to do. So
Yeah. That sounds like a good answer to me. So then, counterpoint to that, uh, has any part of your content creation, your interview shows, or your photography itself, has anything helped to strengthen a weakness you may have had, like being shy or public speaking or improv or anything, like, more, even more technically with the photography, is like doing this on a regular, has it helped you grow in a certain way?
yeah, I think in general, I always joke I'm a introverted extrovert.
Mhm.
I used to be super shy, and I'm still pretty shy now. Um, but I've realized that a lot of times, like, if there's someone like I want to get a photo of, or have a chat with, like, I have been able to talk with them. I've been able to like engage and walk up, and I think, I might ramble when I first meet them, or I might speak a little too fast, but I've tried to force myself to kind of get over that, because sometimes you have to make those opportunities happen yourself. These don't always fall into your lap, and
Absolutely.
I have found, everyone, the biggest thing I've learned and tell myself, and seems obvious, but it's sometimes in the moment it's hard. Like everyone's just like a person, right? No one's typically like most people are super down just to talk or chat about whatever. And if they're like I say like a cosplayer, like yeah, they're probably gonna want their picture taken because they've spent all this time working on it. So it's like yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Or if someone has created something or has their own show or just something that I think is cool, like typically if you want to talk about how you enjoyed that thing, they're not gonna be like, oh, like why are you talking? It's like no, yeah, like
Get away from me.
that's super fun. Yeah. So that's just kind of overcoming that shyness and just from a technical level, like I feel like I've always done photography, but I've dabbled a lot more in video these days, and I
Mhm.
feel like um, I've gotten like exponentially better in video editing and working with audio. And I always joke, I did this project with Hobbs Q, and it was called Marathon, and we combined some stories of him. It was some magic stories, and it was for suicide awareness and
Mhm.
him training for a marathon. And it was just a smaller little project, very interesting and intense, but meaningful stories. But like I learned really how to do keyframes really well. That just
Mhm.
like this thing. So like I feel very confident in my editing abilities now. That I more so that I had maybe a year ago.
Mhm.
So I'm sure any creator probably will tell you this, especially if you're one person show. You got to kind of learn how to do everything yourself, and you got to learn how
Yes.
to fix stuff. And it's I'm sure you were talking
Yeah.
about this beforehand. Um, you become very proficient at a lot of different programs and websites very quickly if you want to keep making stuff.
Yep.
So
Or you
yeah.
become very like me, but very proficient in like scotch taping things together to get them to work and look semi-professional, but they're absolutely not the right way you're supposed to be doing it.
You know what? I never would have thought about using Spell Table for an interview show, but I mean, it's working and it looks pretty good. So like, I can't if it looks silly and it works. I mean, or it's not. What's the messed up that? What's the thing? If it's stupid and it works, it's where it works. No, if I don't. If it works, it works. Like if you're
Right. Yeah.
you got it, yeah, that's all that matters. So
Yeah, that's how I do this stuff. So here's a fun one that I always like to ask: Pie in the sky. What would you love to see? Show and tell become as a content creator hub. Like, would you love to see it just go full on, like mostly photography, and explode into like, showcasing every, being like a sought after photographer for magic photos, or would you like to have it go harder into the interview section, or both, or like 5-10 years from now, but no, money's no object, resources are no object. What do you want? What would you like to see your content become?
a good question. One that you would think as a creator I would have an answer to like immediately, but um, I think the show for me has always been and hopefully this doesn't sound bad, like a means to an end, and the end being like photography.
Sure.
So I think, and this I think just comes with interacting with people. I feel like a lot of times if I have someone on my show, um, the I'm not going to say that we're best friends, but there becomes an acquaintanceship, or
Hmm.
sometimes I become really good friends with a lot of people I've met through my show.
Hmm.
I was talking about Hobbs earlier. I didn't really know Hobbs before I had him on my show. He kind of Hobbsed his way on in a way. If you know him, you probably know what that means.
Yeah.
But he hopped on, and we immediately started talking about the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and how bad they are. And we immediately hit off. And like, I stayed in his basement for Shoebox. Like I flew out to Minnesota and stayed with him for the weekend.
Yeah.
So, um, and he's now someone who I consider like a very good friend, and who anytime I have ideas, I can bounce ideas for projects and stuff off of. So, uh, there's just like you meet a lot of people and you have these opportunities, and just being able to continue to pursue photography or my silly photo ideas or projects.
Hmm.
That's all I'm kind of looking to do, and looking for the next big thing. And I do have some like pie in the sky ideas that like if Wizards really, if I did manage to get on the radar, I think it'd be really cool to do like behind the scenes photo stories on like the Pro Tour.
Hmm.
Give me like an all access pass to MagicCon. If they're doing the World Championship in Vegas, let me see what the pros are doing behind the scenes as they're trying to win that trophy, and let me kind of capture those moments.
Hmm.
Or I think a lot about bigger creators, like creators who it's almost like a corporation. So you talk about like Command Zone or The Professor, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like I could imagine, I would love to, if we're talking pie in the sky, go to, I think Prof is in Oregon or whatever, spend 3 or 4 days just following him around, what it's like for him to like record a shuffle up and play or his booster box game or what the behind the scenes looks like, and just see all the work that kind of gets put into making all that work with a staff and operation that's fairly large. What
Yeah.
does that look like, and what is the amount of work that kind of goes in there?
Yeah.
So
And like show like
that's
the people that are behind that we don't even like really know exist. You know?
yeah, exactly. Like what do those teams look like, and like how much work is kind of going on behind the scenes. So that's the kind of thing that, if again, pie in the sky, money was no object kind of stuff that really intrigued me. So maybe one day, maybe one
Yeah.
project.
Those sounds like
come along,
fun
so.
goals. I mean, I think that just off of what you just said, I mean, some of those, like, I could just picture like really cool behind the scenes shots of like people work, but they're like interesting, and it's like it doesn't break open the mold, or like, oh my gosh, but it's just something that's like, oh, I didn't realize they're doing that, or like, oh look how to the professor or the command zone's like, holy crap, they have that many people on staff, like look at all those people in that shot, that would be really cool.
I think about, maybe, I don't know if I'm the only person who thinks about this, but when they do the cut to the interview portions of game nights, when they're talking about, I so often wonder what the person in the chair with what they see, like what is
Right.
the other side of that looks like. To me, I'm like, that's interesting. How, because sometimes you'll get like a Jake Boss comment like for a joke or something, but I'm like, I'm really interested to see what that side of the camera looks like.
Yeah.
How many people are there, what are they doing? So
You're just talking to
that's
an
the kind
empty
of stuff
chair
that,
that's got a camera in front of it, or like, are they like a
yeah,
full staff or whatever? Yeah.
yeah, is it a tennis ball on a string? Like, when they do CGI
Yeah.
effects for like the ball rock, like
Right.
that's what kind of stuff that I find intriguing about like the process. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have going switching gears again to just your super general stuff to round out the show here? Do you have any dream locations that you would love to visit?
Oh gosh. It'd be cool to like, are we talking like magic locations or just like in
No,
general?
just like in the world. Like, oh, I've always wanted to travel to X, but it's so expensive or far away, or
Oh
maybe
yeah.
someday kind of thing.
So I would love to go somewhere to try to photograph the Northern Lights. That's
Mm.
always been something I really like to do. Um, I would really like to go. It'd be nice. It'd be fun to go back to Japan again and do photos. So here's a funny story for you. When I graduated college, me and my 3 close friends, we all kind of graduated at the same time. My best friend, um, the city we grew up in, has a sister city in Japan called Hano,
Mm.
and what they do is there's a very close relationship between the high school there and the high school I went to in California.
Oh, that's really cool.
And typically what they do is, I don't know if you're familiar with the JET program. JET program is like you go teach English in Japan. That's
Oh,
like the
okay.
basic like way you do that. Well, because of this relationship between the city I'm from and the city in Japan, they would send representatives. So from a town called Brea in California. So Brea would send a representative to Hano to teach out there. Like the JET program, but it's a little higher. It's a higher tier, but like get a little better apartment. I think the pay is a little better because it's done like through the cities. So my best friend got that position out of college. So he was going to go out there. He's supposed to be out there for 2 years, but he only stayed a year. So he went out there, and then one of my other friends went to. This is a really roundabout story, but I promise I'll get interesting back to photography.
That's okay.
My second friend, after he graduated, he needed to get away from civilization. So he went to Alaska with his brother, and they worked on fishing boats for like 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Just deadliest catch. They're like, we're just going to go work on boats and whatever.
Jeez.
So then me and my other buddy, the more level-headed ones, we finished and we just started working. But we all decided to meet up in Japan at my buddy's apartment because it was big enough to house the four of us.
Okay.
So we ended up all convening in Japan. We were out there for 2 weeks. It was like these 2 magical weeks.
Yeah.
You know, you're like 22 and single and in Japan and just, you know, brand new country.
Right.
So one day I was like, I really want to see Mount Fuji. I want to take a photo of Mount Fuji. Like I'm in Japan. Like we're like, okay, we're gonna take the trains. We're gonna go to Mount Fuji. So we spent the day taking trains, trying to get to Mount Fuji. We had to ride this really weird Thomas the Tank Engine train. Like it looked like Thomas the Tank Engine. It was very odd. We were like, are we sure this is the right train to Mount Fuji? Like you would think it'd be, but so finally we get there. It took like I think 5 or 6 hours. It might have been probably closer to 4 or 5 because we did get back. So we get off the train and we're in. I don't remember the town name, but we get off and this is supposed to be where Mount Fuji is. So we're like looking around, and my buddy asked someone walking by, he's like, "Oh, do you know where Mount Fuji is?" You know, and she just points. She goes, "Oh, it's right there." And it was so foggy, you could not see the mountain. You could not see it at all. And I was just like, oh, we all were so bummed. So we're like, okay, well, do we just get back on the trains and start the journey home now? Or it's like, well, let's walk around. So we walk around for a little bit and we find this hammock bar. So it was like a bar, you could buy beer, but they had hammocks everywhere. So we literally all just grabbed beers and like sat in these hammocks for like an hour. And then eventually, made our way back. But yeah, so it's a funny story in retrospect. I remember being, at the time you're kind of bummed, but
Sure.
that the hammocks were really nice and it was kind of just it's kind of one of those, it's a funny story to tell, but I just remember being so disappointed. So it'd be nice to get back there one day to maybe get that shot in my portfolio kind of squared away.
That makes sense. Yeah. I can see why that would be a good go back for. Okay. Last question of the night here. What is one of your favorite ways to just like relax and unwind from the stress of the world or stress of like, after making content, even like, you're stressing out about the editing or the whatever, and it's finally done. Like, how do you, is it a book? Is it a video game? Is it music? What do you do to just like relax?
I used to be really into playing basketball. I used to go out about 2 times a week. There's a court I play with. I've played with some guys out there for, probably consistently for 14 years.
Wow.
Just in my right amount. I've become one of the old heads. I'm one of the old guys now. There's groups of kids who come out and they're all like 18, 19. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can feel my bones turn into dust in front of you. But basketball for me was one of those things you kind of get out there and maybe this is indicative of the times, but I leave my phone in my car, right? So I wouldn't have my phone on me, so no screens, playing outdoors, especially in we just had daylight savings, right? When the sun doesn't go down to like 7:30.
Yeah.
If it's a hot night, there's something about summer basketball that it's just unrivaled.
Yeah.
And just running up and down the court and just the motion and being outdoors. Yeah, exactly. It's just, there's no, once you start playing, all you're thinking about is the game. As I've gotten older, my knees are finally catching up with me. So it's been a little more few and far between these days for getting out to play basketball. So I do like to play music as well. I play bass and a little guitar, but again, I try to incorporate music when I can into Magic stuff because I do enjoy playing music a whole lot. But I think those are probably my 2 decompression hobbies. So I have been reading a lot. Are you familiar with the Dungeon Crawler Carl series? Have you heard of this?
I've heard of that name. I'm not familiar with it though. I haven't.
There's like 7 or 8 books out now. I think because they just re-released like the first 7. I think that's probably why it's in the zeitgeist again. And they just put out the audiobook. I'm not really an audiobook person, but apparently the production value is like incredible.
Okay.
But it's basically Ready Player One meets the Hunger Games. It's really good. It's very funny. If you're into like video games or MMOs, it's in sci-fi and fantasy. It's just I've been addicted. I'm just devouring these books. So
okay. Right.
if you're looking for something to read, I definitely recommend the first one. You'd probably be hooked. But yeah, that's kind of like some outside of like my non-magic hobbies, as it were. But yeah, it's some fun things I like to do.
Sounds good. I like that. Those are all really cool ways to just unwind and wrap up after, the world, being as stressful as it is.
Yes, it is.
But all right, those were all the questions I got for you. So I really, really appreciate you giving up your time, like I said before, hanging out with me, answering the questions.